Can I even sit here because of this Hoya behind me? I don't think I can. I took out this Hoya to water her, and I did not put her back because I don't want her to go back where she was, because it's driving me crazy in that spot. I keep knocking them over. What a great introduction, right? This is what you come here for. Well, she's probably gonna fall down by the end of the video because she's extremely crooked and we need to fix that, but not the topic of today's video. Hello everyone, my name is Miro and welcome to a Hoya video. If you notice some mess in the background, I ask you to look away. We will do a Hoya repotting today, and it is kind of going to be a massive Hoya repot. I emptied my Milsbo cabinet because those plants really need to be taken care of, and I'm currently recording several videos at a time, which I don't know how that's gonna go, but we are trying. I was recording a video of preparing all of my plants for the trip to Sweden, which is happening next week. And I actually don't know if you're gonna see this video first or the other one. We literally are not in charge, though we should be. But in that video, I emptied my Milsbo cabinet and I discovered several mealybugs on these Hoyas. I have been planning to repot these Hoyas for a while. I mentioned it to you many months ago that they need to be repotted, and they certainly do. And they also need to be selected. I don't really want to keep growing all of them, and you will see why. The majority of them that look good are going to stay, but there's some that just never had anything going for them, and I think it's time to just let go of those. The Hoyas that I'm talking about used to live in my rotsta next to me, which I don't really know if you can see her, and they had mealybugs in there too. I actually made a video on this. I treated them, and for a while they were mealybug free, but alas, mealybugs are forever, and they returned, and not in larger quantities, but in sufficient quantities for me to be severely annoyed. So we will repot them today. If we find some mealybugs, we will remove them. I don't want to treat these plants before I go, though I think if there is some time, I will. Essentially, the reason for that is because I will be repotting these plants, and repottings are always a bit of stress for your plants, and it's just not a great idea to go right away with the treatment because leaves can get damaged, you can experience leaf drop, etc. You know, just take one thing at a time. But I am also insane, unfortunately, and I can't knowingly have mealybugs and just let my plants be. Even though I recommend it to you, if you're overwhelmed, etc., and you can't deal with it right away, just, forget about it for a moment. What can I tell you? I don't follow my own advice. But I do have like several prop boxes here. There are two next to me, and there are plants everywhere in this room that need to be repotted. So we're just going to start. I will show you as many of them as I can. I don't have a tremendous amount of quiet time, which is necessary for me to record the video, so for as long as we have peace and quiet, I will do it, but as soon as the external noises in my home become annoying, I will quit. Some of these plants don't necessarily need a repot. They can stay in the size in which they are, but I want to just put them all in see-through pots because it makes sense. And yeah, don't question why I'm doing some of these things. Is the best advice that I can give you. I'm just going to start my soldering iron. Oh, I have Hoya undulata in bloom. This is Hoya undulata that I got from Farah. I actually got it initially from Rolf when I was ordering my Nyhusia, which hasn't bloomed. And it was in a package, Nyhusia, one of the Acanthostemmas, which I think passed away. It was the green one. I actually need to reacquire that. I still have the pink one, sort of. Not that perfect description. That's how that plant is. That's how it looks like. Probably mites, probably just neglect, etc. But this undulata I got in the same package, and it stayed with Farah. I think actually she's growing a piece of this too. But I initially did not want it. I said I have already Hoya undulata, you can just keep it. But when I was in Sweden last time, she gave me a cutting and she kind of grew. She could have grown more, but also, to be quite fair, it's not like I took the best care of this plant, but she bloomed. She bloomed. And you can just see there the flower on the Hoya undulata. My big one is also blooming. And the one from Cartel Dawn is also growing. But yeah, I will take a slightly better care of this plant in the future. She probably needs to be sprayed with mites. Hoyas that make domatia, just believe me, most likely always have mites. They most likely always have mites. Just treat them. You do not need a microscope. If you have Hoya undulata, Hoya mitrata, Hoya buntokensis, you can just treat it. For sure it has mites. Domatia is such a perfect spot. Even with showering, some of those parts will remain unaffected, dry, etc., which is why they're a great home for ants. But also that means that when mites get in there, you're not going to get to them that easily. So just treat your domaceous Hoyas. Don't know if that's a word. So anyway, now we can start warming up our soldering iron. To be quite frank with you, I'm just going to randomly melt these pots, just like a random amount. I have about 12 trellises, I think. Okay, 14. We have 14 trellises and way more plants than that. So I need at least 14 pots, and because a majority will get an upsize, they're probably going to look a little bit ridiculous. I'm just going to drill more of these. This is already smelling really bad. Why? Oh my goodness. Why did I think that it's okay to smell burnt plastic? What is wrong with me? So I just want to inform you that you may see some not great roots. These soils have been underwatered and we do have dry rot, probably with some of them, but we're just going to pretend everything is fine, is all I'm saying here. This is essentially the size that I'm going for. I don't have a tremendous amount of height in my Milsbo because I do have 3 levels in there. So this is pretty much all that we can work with, but I think it's going to be okay. Actually not majority, all of these, maybe there is one that's not a small-leaved Hoya, but mostly these are small-leaved Hoya, so they're gonna look okay on this. And I think we just need a firm trellis to start off with, and if I need to extend the trellis in the future, I think I can do it. Just add more hoops, whatever, maybe one on top of this. But I think we just need to get this one in firmly. I'm just gonna go ahead and do this, and I will check back with you once I have finished, because this is extremely boring. Okay, I made holes in a bunch of pots, and we are kind of going to make these as we go because I have not made any executive decision prior to this video how we're going to, or in what pot size we're going to pot these, which is, I feel like a normal thing. Like I never actually, unless I'm making a video, make these decisions. It's kind of like as I go, I figure it out. Now we have Dischidia first that I really want to take care of because she fell out of the pot. And she does have a sensitive root system, so I should not really leave her. I mean, she didn't completely fall out of the pot, but enough. This is my Dischidia GPS 88. Now, GPS 88 was sold for the longest time as a Hoya. It's not a Hoya. This is for sure a Dischidia. It blooms like a Dischidia. I always forget exactly what kind of Dischidia it is because they're two with a similar name, and I'm sorry. But I will write the name in the screen. And the name GPS 88 is actually an accession number for Hoya ditera, for one of the clones of Hoya ditera. So this is obviously not a Hoya ditera. If anyone ever tells you GPS 88 is Hoya ditera, it's because it originally was associated with that Hoya. So we're going to take this off of a trellis. I'm going to use the same trellis, and we'll see how good these roots are. I did rot this before in pond, but I think I have recovered it for the most part. I think this would look even cuter on a ladder trellis, but there's no... Ooh, we are ripping the roots. We're ripping the roots with that. I had not realized that Velcro, in this Dischidia's opinion, makes a perfect medium to root into. This has also been very unstable because these trellises, you really have to zip tie them or secure them when it comes to these very airy mixes, so don't even try not to. But I'm actually proud how much this has grown. This is from, number one, a small cutting, number two, very mistreated plant initially, but now she is better, or she was better until I dropped her. We'll see what the revenge is going to be. But this plant initially does take some time to start off. She needs to establish before she starts growing. Let's not take down the entire room with us, Miro. She needs to establish, and then she is easy, but honestly, it can be rough until she does establish. So, you know, it's not you. If you're struggling with this plant, it's not you. It's just the way that this is. But I promise you, it does get very easy. And she does seem to, unlike some of the other Dischidia that I have / had, because some have croaked due to me, this one does really I find she does really benefit from being on some sort of a trellis. She likes to wrap around things. I don't know how much you're familiar with this plant, but as soon as everyone sort of figured out this is a Dischidia, and when people who kept saying this is a Hoya, when they also kind of realized, yeah, this is definitely a Dischidia, the price and interest for this plant massively dropped, which I find funny. In the beginning, this was very, very tough plant to find, at least in Europe. It wasn't easy to find it, and it was very expensive. I mean, you know, it was like 50-60 bucks for a cuttings. And as soon as everyone was like, oh, it's a Dischidia, then no one cares anymore, which is how it is in the Hoya world. Unless you're a Hoya, no one cares. If you're Papua Hoya, you're cheaper. I hate to untangle these plants. Let me just put it down here. I'm gonna move you. My camera better be focusing. Okay, my camera may be focusing on my chest. I'm not really sure. There's nothing to see there aside from this shirt by Youth at Walamut. Obviously. Okay, whatever. This one I think has a bit of mites too. I definitely see a sign. I don't see a mealybug, which does please me because someone next to her did have them. Do we think if I just pull out the trellis? That was a quicker way to get that off. Now, of course, you still have to untangle this. But anyway, I think she does have some mites. I see signs here and there on the vines, on the undersides of the leaves. You can kind of see the presence of mites on petioles. Also, this plant can be sometimes a bit tricky to root. It's not that it's hard to root, it's just that the root system is not abundant, and typically it is shallow. She's actually quite big, bigger than what I imagined. And that makes it difficult. Now the root system is better, but I do think I see some rot because probably we over/undered and then overwatered. Ugh. Yeah, there is some rot on the bottom because the water was kind of pooling down there. There is less rot on the top. You know, overall, it's probably a 6, this root system. It's much better, the root system now, than in Pawn. Since this Dischidia does not make a massive root system, what I would love to do is to get her in this pot. I don't know if she's going to fit, because the next size up is this, and this is definitely not too big necessarily, but it's bigger. And I think we can comfortable-ish fit here, you know, sort of. Essentially, the issue with these is they're too tall. They're too tall, and This is an okay height for a pot, okay ratio. This is for, maybe for some orchids this would be fine. Some orchids like to be in tall pots like Cymbidium, but Cymbidium is way too big for this. This is mostly for violets, and begonias do well in these. Some people say that Hoyas like shallower pots. I don't find that's untrue, nor that it's, I don't think they, but they don't like deep pots. Deep pots are not good for Hoya. So just look for a different ratio. I do hope we have enough zip ties for my project today. So I will go with a smaller pot, which I hope doesn't come around and bite me in the butt. But it might. So I'm just going to reuse the same trellis, but I will adjust it a little bit. And if we run out of the golden trellises, which we definitely will, I will go for sort of these. Again, these are not the best. They are a little bit flimsy. Or not flimsy, they're very sturdy because it's very thick wire, but it's thin. So even when you zip tie them, they can still move around. My potting mix is here on the side. I don't know if you can see. I'll just show you. It's cocoa husk, bark, pumice, and some moss. I will go for bits that have less moss. Maybe this plant is not a big fan. Or maybe you should water more. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm just going to put her back on the trellis, which means just wrapping her around crazy amount of times. It's probably not going to look amazing when I trellis this, because this is just one of those plants that needs to sort of grow into the trellis. Also, Dischidia do tend to look a little bit weird on trellises, ain't gonna lie there. I don't know, is it me, or does she kind of look fuller? I kind of pushed the trellis, made it narrower, because it was a little bit wide, and now it sort of looks better. I definitely lost the tag. How is this possible? It was just here. Was there? Am I imagining? Was there not a tag? I don't think there was a tag. I think I'm crazy. So my Dischidia GPS 88, I will just keep the accession number, even though it's incorrect. It will go in a small pot like this one, but not exactly this one, maybe a different color. And she will look cute. I mean, she already looks cute. I think this is actually improvement. Let me tell you, not every time that I do a repot, the result will be cute. Not every time, but this one definitely is. So, in that name, carpe diem. Okay, we have another one in a similar setup before we move to something else here. Oh, there is definitely some root rot here. This is Hoya revoluta. I don't think I like circular trellises. I think when they're shaped like an arch, it's better. It's blooming now. It's one Hoya from Acanthostemma section. Acanthostemma section is a little bit tricky when it comes to watering. At least for me, it's a little bit tricky. That reminds me, I need to put like a list of plants that I had in my collection that I would like to reacquire. Acicularis is one of them. I lost my Acicularis after Hoya of the week because not your fault. I sometimes joke it's your fault. It's not your fault. I took it out of the cabinet and I recorded a video and I left it. I knocked it over. It fell out of the pond, totally ripped the roots, and it just never recovered after that. Let's deal with Hoya revoluta. But honestly, Acanthostemma section is just a challenging section of Hoya for me. First of all, I'm not gonna lie to you, they don't look the prettiest. They kind of tend to look a little sparse with the leaves. Not all of them. There are some pretty Acanthostemmas, obviously. But a lot of them can look a little bit sparse with the leaves. They like warmth and they like a lot of light, but the watering is a bit tricky. They're very easy to overwater and underwater. They are mostly, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but majority of Acanthostemma, I believe, comes from the Philippines. That's sort of their distribution. So I guess Philippine Hoya. Though that's not true, I do have Philippine Hoya that grow well for me, like Benguetensis. I just don't know what's about Acanthostemma that's not loving my conditions. Most of the Hoya that I wrought are from Acanthostemma section. Like, honestly, if I wrought a Hoya 10 out of 10, it's gonna be Acanthostemma. So not surprised that this is rotten. And it's usually dry rot followed by too much water after it. I killed my big variegated, inner variegated Cantiana too. Also root rot. But at least I saw it bloom. I'm not sure if I'm going to reacquire that one. I have the outer variegated one. Maybe I will get it because I really do love inner variegated one. And Carolina had such a pretty clone, which I don't believe is the same that is now available on the market everywhere, like in the big box stores. Her clone always looked better. It was always prettier. And I'm super bummed that I rotted it, but I did. It was in pon, and it wasn't in self-watering. It was growing fine in pon in that setup, but when I took it outside, I couldn't keep up with the watering, and it just got a case of dry rot. Now, there was a moment where I could have saved her, but I got overwhelmed with all the tasks that I had. Maybe I don't deserve it anymore. On that note, I have I have outer variegated Laureline that we are going to repot today, and I gotta tell you, I'm slightly afraid because I want to move her from pumice to my mix, and historically, always, I think, when it comes to Cantiana, there's been a terrible idea. I actually don't think that I grew any Cantiana successfully in organic mix, so let's try again. I don't know what is it. Maybe I think I need to gaslight myself that I'm amazing at growing Cantiana in organic mix, and it will be better. So first of all, let's fix this ugly ass trellis, because it's just not... It's a fashion statement. Let's fix it. I will say though, my true Bertonier seems to like this mix. So that's good. Gives me faith. And this one liked this mix too. Really the issue is I use this as a cover pot and, well, I never emptied it. These are also very, very wet now because I did water them yesterday. But despite me watering them yesterday, there shouldn't be this amount of root rot. But I told you at the beginning of the video, and I kept my promise, expect to see a lot of root rot in this one, simply because massively underwatered plants. And you know what? I could pretend that's not the case. I could pretend these roots are great, because you're probably not going to see from where you are. But I don't want to lie to you. I will just trim some of those bad ones. We went through some root downsize here. I'm not going to trim a lot of this for a very simple reason. I found a product that I will start using on my Hoya, and I will report to you, which is supposed to improve root health. I think it's made by Plagron. It's not sponsored. I haven't tried it yet, but it's supposed to improve the health of your roots, and any like decaying stuff is supposed to be, you're supposed to be able to flush out. You know, you add a little bit with every watering, and it sort of helps speed up this breakdown of rotten materia, I guess. I want to try that out, and then I will let you know how it works out for me. So we're definitely, without even checking, I can just put that into a smaller pot. I just need to adjust the trellis there a bit. Okay, so I have finished this. So I will just put some mix in here, and I'm actually interested to find out from you, have you noticed that you do better or worse with some Hoya sections? Because I definitely noticed this right away with Acanthostemma, that they're just not really my fan. They're not a fan of me. Which is really odd, because like, why wouldn't you be? But yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to find out if you've noticed. Maybe it's a Acanthostemma for you too. Or like maybe a general type of Hoya that you noticed you're not very good at, like maybe thin-leaved Hoyas or veiny Hoyas. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure if I want to keep this one. She's pretty in the sense that the leaves are interesting. They have sort of this raised margin to them. But other than that, it's not amazing. It's not a particularly attractive Hoya. Even if it were big and bushy and whatnot and like lush with more leaves, it's just not very, it's not very pretty. The blooms are very small. They're not that fragrant. You know, I'm really starting to think more like what are the qualities of this plant? And it's fine, you know, we sometimes need to get the Hoya. Maybe some of you love this one. Maybe you have this and you love it, which is great. I fully support your love. But yeah, I think really the only reason why you would want to grow this is the leaves. And maybe I have recommended her only for the leaves too in the past. Can't remember if I have a highlight on this Hoya or not. I think I wanted to make one. Somehow, I honestly don't even know this myself how. Maybe it's just temporary. But I like how these are looking after the repot. I think it's like, honestly, the width of the trellis. There you go. What we found out today is that wide trellises are not so sexy. All right, I am liking this. It's definitely looking better. Like, you cannot tell me that doesn't look better. Am I onto something? Narrow and tall trellises. I think I'm onto something. Surprisingly, I'm using far less of these big pots than I expected. I'm not really sure why that is. I have some lacunosa here that I would like to repot. These two are tangled. Now, this one of these I wanted to restart, but I don't think it's any of these two. And I unfortunately think this one needs to go into the smaller pot as well. This is snow caps. I would like to keep my lacunosa hanging, cascading, but unfortunately, due to the way that my Milsbo is, that's not really possible. Then the leaves get through the wire shelf, they get stuck, I rip them, etc. And I think it's just going to look much neater if I put them on a trellis. I don't have a space where I can hang them, so I'm not. They can look fine on the trellis, I think. But Snowcap's Select for sure does not have great roots. I saw this yesterday. So for sure, she's going to go into the small pot. She is in pure pumice. And this was really a temporary setup. And I don't know if this happens to you. I'm sure it does. But this is one of those cases where the temporary setup ended up being way more permanent than it should have been. Actually, there's a lot of good roots here. There's some dead roots, sure, but much more. I thought we're gonna end up, honestly, I thought we're going to end up with like one single strand of healthy root, but there's more. So that's kind of surprising. This is one of the clones of Hoya lacunosa that I want to have. It's splashy, the leaves are cute and small, so she can stay. I need to order more of this wire because these are some of the best looking trellises that I made. Oh, by the way, I heard something about Nordiska Fair. Someone is coming to Nordiska Fair, and I don't know if I will be able to say hello to this person. I'll try to control myself, but I'm such a fan of a Hoya botanist. One of the most famous current Hoya botanists who's gonna be there at the trade fair. And I hope we get to meet. I'll probably just hide in a corner, to be quite frank with you. Or wave, or smile. I was thinking of a slightly different mix for some of these Hoya, because they don't all need to be in this super airy mix, to be quite frank with you. Especially the lacunosas, they really don't need to be in this mix. but I am too lazy to make a different one. But I can tell you the mix that I got from SYBOTANICA, their Hoya mix, which is a more heavy mix. There is like cocoa peat in there, there is still bark, and there is still cocoa husk, I believe, perlite, but it's definitely denser mix. It's been working out great for my Hoya Loki. Let's just check on the roots. Yeah, you can see the roots have grown out of the pot, and this, I think this had very few roots, or even none. Maybe just a single root when it was potted in here. So it worked out really well for this Hoya Loki. By the way, I do have like a discount code that you can use. I will put it someplace on the screen if you want, if you're in Europe or UK and you want to order from SYBOTANICA or SYBOTANICA, you can use that code. I will be ordering their cocoa husk because it's buffered. But pretty good roots for this small Hoya Loki. This is Hoya Loki Yellow, which I can't wait to bloom. But she is on the bottom of my cabinet. Anyway, I was gonna use similar mix to that for my Hoya lacunosa, but who's gonna go and get it now? Not me. So because this one has several vines, I will just see if I can sort of put it in the center and split the vines. There's some leaves that are like below the root system. What? How did that happen? I guess it was potted a bit differently. Anyway, let's just ignore that. I mean, I took those off. I'm just gonna put this mix here. This definitely could have grown more. And the reason why it hasn't is because I haven't watered it. Lacunosas are fast growers, and I did trim this several times, but I've had this plant for a while, so it definitely could have been bigger. But I really take care of my plant size by underwatering. If you're ever concerned about your Hoya getting too big, just stop watering. And there you go, you will have all the space you want. I mean, when I say underwatering, I'm not even saying I water this once a week. Pfft, that would be a lot. We're talking every 2 weeks. But these will all be watered again. I did water them before this video, but since I'm removing some of the mix and I'm putting them in a dry mix, they will just need to be watered again. And I will use this opportunity to actually fertilize them. Let's just get all of the clips out. Well, that's a great look, actually. I actually like that. Wow, I am surprised by my own work here. That looks super cute. I'm just amazing. There are a couple of thin-leaved Hoya here. I'm trying to kind of show you a variety of things that I'm doing here. There are a couple of thin-leaved Hoyas that I would like to repot, and some that have been... Was this a lacunosa? I don't think this is a lacunosa. I think this is a... Oof, I always forget the name of this Hoya, but I don't think this is a lacunosa. This is Pusilla. Pusilla. Pusilla is doing okay. I love Pusilla. She has great roots. I think I want her in a see-through pot, but I think this one is too small. Let's do Pusilla. She isn't going to bloom, but I also am very annoyed by the trellis because it's not zip tied. There's barely any mix there. Yeah, she can fit. It's not really an upgrade. This is more of like me being over those black pots, which I did rave about. Oh, this has 2 peduncles. Oh, that's a shame. Because she's not gonna make it. Those are not gonna make it. Maybe they will. Yeah, we're just gonna add a bit of a mix. I'm gonna very gently break apart that root ball so we can kind of make her fit. Hoya Pusilla is, I would say, almost back to her full size. I've had this Hoya for years and she did okay. She was never super fast. She definitely loves a lot of light, but I rotted her at one point. And then I rotted her again, and maybe even one more time. So now we are sort of at a moment where she is finally okay. I can't remember if she was in pawn when I rotted her the first time. You sort of think Pusilla is like lacunosa, and I find that's not true, at least for me. Pusilla roots are more sensitive than lacunosa, and they have been actually doing pretty great in that very chunky mix. Now, do I want to use the same trellis is my question. I think after this we may have time for 1 or 2 more Hoya, and then my battery is gonna die. I unfortunately only have 1 for this camera. I need to get more. But considering how much I talk while I record this video, maybe we just need to figure out a way to hook up this camera to like a car battery or something like that, you know? Just a little bit of that mix. I will once again try to keep this mix slightly less mossy. I can't now figure out how she looked like. Oh, I broke another leaf. Why do I have to break on all of the plants? If I didn't break a leaf, it's like I'm not gonna be happy. She had mealybugs. I'm actually not to... maybe I shouldn't say this. But I am a little bit surprised I didn't find a single mealybug on this one, because she had them. And I only had to clean her once with alcohol and they were gone, which is not what has been the case for some of my other Hoya. For some of the other Hoya, I just had to sell my soul to get rid of the mealybugs, and they still remain. So, you know, I guess for different Hoyas, different things work. I'm using the green clips for these. I messed it up. This vine needs to get into the front. That's so annoying, actually. And this one could also benefit from a mite treatment. I can just see by the sensitivity of the petioles that most likely we do have mites. They don't seem to be inhibiting her growth too much. Oh, I forgot to actually finish repotting. It's like half a potting mix is missing there. It's fine, she's an epiphyte. Mites aside, she does have very clumpy growth. She doesn't make too long of internodes, or at least maybe in the highlight that I give her, she tends to look quite neat, actually. It's definitely one of the Hoyas that I'm also keeping, because there are some qualities about her that I really like. The shape of the leaf, even though it's very lacunosa-y. I like the flower too. It's kind of very, very compact. I like it. I think she looks great. I will just do one more plant. And let me tell you, I have, you know how many more I have? I have about 30 more plants that I need to repot. Did I think to do all 30 in this one video? Yes. Yes, I did. But apparently Steven Spielberg was not available. Or whoever it is that makes long movies. James Cameron, is he the guy who made Titanic? I think James Cameron or Ridley Scott, they all make long movies. Who has the time these days? I will repot 2 small-leaved Hoyas that are doing okay, but could be doing better. These are Hoya pulleana, which has been underwatered. Do I need to even tell you the story? You know it. Could have been bigger. And another super easy, I'm not untrellising that. Super easy and very resilient Hoya, fantastic bloomer. I recommend it. Mine is a mess. I am 08. She's only a year old. Really? Year and a half. She started from a small cutting, could be bigger, cut a couple of times, never water it. You should. She grows in cocoa husk. Like, you definitely need to water this one more. Oh, she's not rotten. That's a surprise. I expected to see a bunch of rot. Wow. Okay, she liked the mix. Oh, my lights are turning off. Okay, I actually want to give her a taller trellis because this one grows really fast when you water her. Not, I'm not saying that I will water her, but maybe. So I don't know how in the heck is anyone supposed to untangle this, especially with such large hands as I have, but I will try. Because this has been just, I slapped those vines on there with no rhyme and reason. I will just slowly attempt untrellising, I guess. There is a mealybug. Let's just squish her. These are all gonna get treated. If I see that they're okay, maybe even tomorrow they will be treated with that Azamax equivalent or closest to Azamax that I have here, and put it back into the cabinet, monitored, etc. I did shower it, remove what I saw with my eyes. I mean, what I saw I removed with my hands, but like, what is that? I don't know what I'm saying at this point. Of course you saw it with your eyes, Miro. Of course you saw it with your own eyes. But you know, what was visible to me at that time, I did remove. Now, this might be a bit challenging because I think the way that I was wrapping this around, some of these are rooted in multiple spots. Yeah, this vine is rooted here. I will try to leave it, but I still want to untrellis most of it. It's actually capable of being such a heavy bloomer. It is one of the best Hoya, and I think a lot of you have it. A lot of you, I think it's quite surprising actually how resilient, at least to me, because I'm telling you, I don't know about the rest of you, but I definitely abused this one. I don't know, maybe I even mistreated this one the most among everyone in the Hoya community. Because I did not, you know, she went limp. The leaves went limp. I mean, and she withstood that, so it's shocking that such a thin-leaved Hoya can be so resilient, but she is. I'm not gonna say she's one of the most resilient Hoya on the planet, but she is definitely much, much more resilient. If you're afraid to get IM08 because you think it's, you know, it's a thin-leaved, small-leaved Hoya and you think that that's an issue, do not be afraid. Trust me, this one can take anything you throw at it. She's also very good at branching out, which is what I like. I like Hoyas that are great at branching out. I like Hoyas that are such heavy bloomers like this one. I want to, I don't know how we're gonna get there, certainly not with watering, with my watering schedule, but I hope that she can one day be a very large plant. I saw some very nice specimens, and this is definitely one of the Hoyas that I always want to have in my collection. It's such a good bloomer, it's such a good grower, and it just makes sense to choose this one over something that's maybe similar in small size. Now, pulleana, for me, hasn't bloomed yet, which, again, I would be lying to you if I told you that I'm surprised. I think she tried a couple of times, but pulleana is a different thing. They look very similar, but pulleana is definitely more sensitive than IM08. It's like, despite such similarity in the leaves, the flower is completely different too. I think we're just gonna stop here. I will continue to untrellis as I have something to wrap her around, if that makes sense. Pulleana, I started to talk about her. Just grab a nice trellis. Definitely more sensitive, not so resilient to underwatering, and we are gonna see what those roots look like once I'm done with this, and then we're going to end the video. I'm not even sure if we're gonna have that much time, because I think we are getting to the single digits of my battery, but okay. Yeah, we're definitely getting into the single digits. I will be very happy if I can get pulleana to bloom this year. I'm using fertilizer once again. I think majority of my year last year went without fertilizer. Honestly, not on purpose. I just kept postponing ordering and I never ordered. But I'm using some orchid fertilizer on them again, and I think I will just stay on that one. I love rain mix, but it's so hard for me to get rain mix, and I just feel that getting something locally is much better anyway. It's still a great and well-known fertilizer what I use, Orchid Focus, but I did get used to the other one. If I do an orchid order, I will throw in the rain mix. But I think just ordering fertilizer doesn't make sense because they will charge you more for smaller orders. I messed up that pot. You know what, it's fine. Whatever. I over-tightened the zip ties. Let's just be very fast here. You know what, I'm actually going to turn off my camera so we can just get to the pulleana. Okay, so here is I am 08 finished and trellised. I did the best I could. I think it's okay. I think it's going to be really, really nice when she fills out this trellis. Approximately the size that I would like her to be, but just like completely crisscross filled out. You can see pulleana is quite similar in the leaf shape, if my camera will show that. I just want to quickly check on the roots of pulleana, and then we have to sort of end the video because of short battery and also the noise. They are the same age. Are they the same age? I got both of them from Farah. Maybe they're not the same age. They're not. Pulleana is 2-3 months younger. Much smaller, obviously. And this one, I think, may have been cut only once. I don't think she has good roots, but I also thought that the other one doesn't, so maybe I will be, you know, surprised here, hopefully positively. She's going to get the same treatment. I just wanted to show you the roots live and then we can go. Because we need to see, you saw how those roots were. Let's see these. Yeah, much, much smaller roots. It's actually surprising how much smaller these roots are. So definitely pulleana is, at least in my conditions, you know, side by side, they have been growing side by side. There's a lot of mold in here too. Moldy, moldy, moldy mix. This has definitely been too wet. For a moment there I thought mealybugs, but nope. This is just plain old mold. For sure mold, because like, you can kind of smell it. There is some root rot on this one as well, which I'm not surprised to see. So I'm going to fix this. Obviously put her in that small pot. She's definitely not getting a larger one. And trellis her and, you know, hope for better days here. So I'm just going to cut off some of those roots. Yeah, very, very weak root system, so definitely not as vigorous as I'm 08. And if you're not particularly after the flower, if the leaf is the only thing that you're interested in and you want this vibe, go for the I am 08, because this is pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Okay, I'm going to go and pot this one. We have completely emptied my camera battery. I will check in to sort of maybe tell you how this went, this repot, and to sign off. Bye, for a moment at least. I gotta tell you one more thing. We got down to 2%. We're so good. Okay, bye. Hello everyone, here is a short update on all the Hoyas that I repotted. It's much, much less than what I had hoped for, and that's because I did not have enough time, but I just wanted to give you an update before I completely sign off. So we did my lacunosa mint coin. And by the way, I think all of them look very cute. If you disagree, I do not want to hear it. So this is mint coin. We have my very cute Pulleana, outer variegated. She did have some mealybugs. She also has a tiny flower here, which of course is not in focus. Maybe that helps a little bit. She is outer variegated all throughout, but because of highlight, the outer variegation doesn't really come through on those leaves, but it's there, like if you look at the margin, but you can see in lower light she does look better. So I think maybe this one needs to change the spot once she is fully treated and cured. Sort of the same thing with Hoya lacunosa asami. As she gets closer to the light, the outer variegation is less, but there is a lot of outer variegation on the bottom leaves, and she also, I think, looks quite cute. She's not as big as my mint coin, but, you know, she's gonna get there. Now, the next one is species SR2009-050 from Cameron Highland. It's a type of lacunosa. I did break several leaves off of this one, which, you know, as I said, happens due to mites. The petioles get very weak. But this one is supposed to have quite a large flower. I don't remember if this one ever bloomed. She does have peduncles, but, you know. Now we have two that don't look as great. One of them is lacunosa white pearl. Both of them have mites, and we're just losing those. Both of them definitely have sign of mites. This one is looking a little bit better than the other one, I think. I think it's going to be fine eventually, but yeah, we definitely need a mite treatment. This one is lacunosa leopard something, leopard skin. They're cute, but I don't really know if I want to keep these still, because as I said, I have this lacunosa which looks really, really nice. Snowcaps Select. I think this one looks nicer, to be quite honest. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, this is Snowcaps Select, and you can kind of see what that looks like. Sort of splashy leaves. And then next to her, we have something very, very similar looking, which is leopard skin, I believe. I mean, you know, we can't really say these two are worlds apart. And then white pearl. So maybe we don't need three that look so similar. The rest of them in the back you haven't seen my pulleana, which once again is very cute, small-leaved Hoya, very similar when it comes to the leaf to IM08, but it does make sense to have both of them because they do bloom differently. So this does make sense, even though this is a less vigorous plant, and you can just see they got wrapped around. I can't. All right, I fixed that mess, but you can see IM08, much more vigorous, but if we look at them side by side, we can sort of see here that the leaves do look very similar between what is pulleana, this one, and IM08. So the look is very similar, but the flower isn't. That is all for today from my Hoyas. I still have a bunch of them that I need to repot, a bunch of plant chores, so I will continue this in the next video, which will be like sort of a plant chores vlog. I do just want to show you, I have this Acanthostemma in bloom. What a cute pink color. I can't wait for them to open. That is all for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I will see you soon, and don't forget to let me know what plant chores you did while watching this video. And I'm just going to go and continue essentially repotting my small-leaved Hoyas so I can one day finish my Milsbo cabinet, which is currently empty. I would like to take some time to thank all of my patrons for their incredible support. A massive shout out to my $5 patrons, my 2 anonymous patrons, Alex von Siebenthal and Margaret Moyen, Angela Bernard, Angelia Parrish, Anna P. Aspen Drake, Betsy Brett Noble, Catherine Molina, Connie Pagano, Daniela Danube Daniels, Down on a Roll, Stipanjali Rao, Either W, Elena Saxon Ellen, Farah Ferdis Verdans, Francis Wilkins, Gathering Moss, Gina Geisa, Gina Radovic, Grossitz Kyle, Growing Nurse, Hannah Mathlin, Heather Oppenkamp, Hoji Scott, Yana Griffin, Jessica Chio, Jody D. Gomez, Jonas Barhjorth Larson, Cara, Catherine P., Casey Gross, Kelly Gallagher, Kelso, Kimberly Polka, Kiwi Mochi, Christy Ehrlich, Elle Lindberg, Lee Mooney, Lucas Erjevsky, Mandy Milliken, Marcel Har, Marina Yarmolich, Marty Miller, Melissa Walker, Michelle Herod, Mirka Grun-Roos, MJW, Moa Edmund, Miss Seidenhar, Nelly Yang, Niha, Nicole Maroney, Nguyen, Nita Macy, Odette, PJ Plant, Druid, Syke Zera, Rachel Peterson, Rebecca C., Renee Church, Sharon Bones, Starla Van Lith, Subi Cortecangas, Tessa Martins, Thomas Marsden, Tia B., Trista Bailey, Tristan Thomas, Ben Islian, Xenia Greenyouth, The Volumud, Zaira Rivera, Zordramas, Lacob Niponi, and A Flower. A big thank you to my $3 patrons, Anna Malia, Karen, Kilon Constance, Daryl Del Rosario, Eden Crolette, Joanna, Holly Borner, KPZ, Lindsay and Maria Isabel, Monica Wykers, Nerdy Kathy, Ringlove, Shayla Casper, Tang Watanas Riakul, VH, Wendy Foreman, www.myhoya.shop. And a thank you to my $1 patrons, 1 anonymous patron, Alice Borland, Andrew G. and C. Aquila, Brandon Pacheco, Catherine Molina, Couture Helvetica, Emilia Bronson, Jolie Sullivan, Kayla Vavra, Kelly Ash, Chris Perez, Laura E. Jackson, Lauren at Tugboat Plants, Lori Ann Subramaniam, Luzman Fernandez, Marga F. Wee, Mary Diamond, Mary Rose, Neely Spicer, Olivia Chin Muller, and Pacific and W. Plant Lady.